We're back. D3, Kyle Schassburger, and David Kahn. We're with you here. Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers galore. In the throes of March Madness, college basketball season taking center stage. It's conference tournament week. We are all consumed by this, but David Kahn, you and I are coming to bring people back to the baseball table here and tell them what they most need to know out of the fourth weekend completed here on the Diamond. You called some baseball this past weekend. I look forward to hearing about your time covering West Virginia. And for me, I was doing basketball stuff. So I'm not as concerned about that, although I did witness, some things that did break contain, if you will. We had a buzzer beater with South Carolina's Camilo Cardoso on the women's side, and then she was in the middle of a near brawl on Championship Sunday featuring two budding rivals in South Carolina and LSU. So I witnessed some things. Things were happening this past weekend in Greenville, but I'm excited to kind of shift gears back into the baseball world. I'm going to try to as well over the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a lot that happened in college baseball and in college basketball. That South Carolina-Tennessee game and the South Carolina-LSU game were insane. By the way, for what I got to listen to you the past week, you sounded great. Well done again to you, Rob Joyce, Mike Coulter. Phenomenal job with that trio down there in Greenville. West Virginia was fun. It was a great time. We ended up having the series shifted due to weather. So we only played one game Thursday, 2 games Friday. So I got to come home earlier on Saturday and just kind of assimilate myself back into college basketball. Had the boys at the ACC and you guys at the SEC on my entire drive home. Easy drive that way. West Virginia was great. They took the series against BYU. Another team that is like a lot of them, notably Wake Forest, banged up right now in terms of injuries. 5 of their top 6 hitters from their opening day lineup were out going into this weekend. So that was a question mark because BYU is a really good offensive team. But West Virginia hit the ball exceedingly well. Some guys like Ellis Garcia, the freshman Spencer Barnett, freshman Michael Peraza, guys to watch for West Virginia in the meantime while J.J. Weatherholt, Grant Hussey comes back. But Hussey did pinch hit twice this week, had a pivotal insurance run in the final game. And they got one of their guys that was supposed to be in the rotation back in Derek Clark, who started game 3 and his first start back for West Virginia, 5 innings, 7 Ks, no runs. So he was ready. And he looked really good, really tall, a really small, kind of lean left-handed pitcher from Northwood University in Michigan, but he's got stuff. He's got really good stuff. And it was impressive to watch the sneaky little southpaw work. Best story from the weekend.
What is the timeline on my guy, my Golden Spikes Award winner?
I don't know.
My pick, J.J. Weatherholt.
I don't know. I asked Randy Mazey twice. And Randy's, as open as can be, but when it comes to injuries, I mean, it is more secure than the Declaration of Independence. You can't get a word out of him. So he basically
trade
was
secrets. Trade secrets.
Yes, these are FBI protected trade secrets. You cannot get a word out of him on injuries. He basically said, like, look, he'll come back when he comes back. I don't know. And I was okay, but he also said that about Grant Hussey, and then Grant Hussey pinch hit 2 times over the weekend. So JJ could be good now. I have no idea. I'm going to call another series for them in Norman, not this weekend, but next weekend. Hopefully he's back by then. We'll see. But anyways, the best story of the weekend actually is one at my expense, as it often is. So on Thursday, it had rained minimally all day, but enough that the grass was wet. And if you've never been to what is now called Kendrick Family Ballpark at the Monongalia County Baseball Complex, as it was rebranded last week.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
What are we doing?
We call it the Ken.
Is there an acronym? The Ken?
It's called Ken, yes. So it's named after Ken Kendrick, who's the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, a Mountaineer alumnus who made a significant donation and got naming rights to the ballpark. So we said it once on the air and then just called it the Ken. It's a lot. It's a mouthful. But anyways, so there's a grassy berm that's the easiest way to shimmy your way down to the field to get over to talk to coach and talk to players. So I normally just go down that. And I'm so used to it, I'm not paying attention to when I go down it. And I get all the way down to the very bottom, and there's a mud spot right at the bottom that I don't see.
Oh, no.
Boom! On my ass. Just
no.
Absolutely feet kicked out from under me. Bam, slam, thank you, ma'am. Just on my ass, dirt everywhere, all down my pants, on my shirt, up my sleeve. and it's right in front of Randy Mazey. It's right in front of the director of external affairs, Matt Wells, who I know very well. And a few players are like looking at me like, who the It's this guy. What is going on here? I'm like, yeah, okay. And my phone's completely covered. I'm like, oh, geez. And I wasn't paying attention. Totally my fault. So Randy's laughing. Matt's laughing. So I get up, I go clean myself off. Matt walks over, checks on me, make sure I'm okay. Goes and then gets me 2 new shirts to wear because I ruined the clothes that I was wearing. So I was wearing a new long sleeve and then tied a long sleeve around my pants so that when I sat in the broadcast booth, I wouldn't track dirt all over the chair. Randy gave me a good, little knock for it. The next day he was like, "Hey, did you slip today? You fall today?" I was like, "No, I took the stairs."
Man, if you were, I take the stairs. Yeah, that aged well.
Whoops.
Anyways, if you were calling a game, let's say for Tulane, and you were in the Deep South or in Louisiana, I would call that a good old-fashioned case of swamp ass. However, in Morgantown, this is more like country ass. So good for you. That's awesome. Day one of getting ready to call. You said 2 games on Thursday or 1 on Thursday, 2 Friday?
We did 1 on Thursday, 2 on Friday.
That's spectacular. So
they won the series, by the way. I think I left that out. West Virginia won the series.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, you prefaced it. You began. Okay. I wish. So we don't have any pictures of you with this country ass.
Oh, we do. Yes, okay. There is one. I will send it to you as you get us ready for the show.
Okay, that is spectacular. You love to hear it. Coming up on this pod, we will unveil our Power 10 in 3D as we have each of the last few weeks. Hat tips, dudes, SDA, and off the top, we'll talk kind of our biggest feelings and takeaways from a weekend that has delivered us now just 2 undefeateds remaining in college baseball in Texas A&M and Florida State. Florida State is playing in a pretty big midweek game against Florida. So we'll give you a Shass surefire lock. And I think I know where some of you might think I'm going to be going. It is my half birthday, Kahn. So happy half birthday to me. March 12th. Yeah. I realized this on my notebook when I wrote down the date to help signify this joyous occasion of you and I coming back into the podcast space and churning out some content, that it is my half birthday. So, yeah, take it or leave it. And happy birthday to me for this picture and this image. This is not your ass. Oh, I see it under your arm.
Yeah.
During your pregame interview. That's great.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. The only story I have in relation to ass would be...
Oh, no.
Okay. We've got to do better at Bon Secours Wellness Arena or any arena across the country for that matter. If you've got these in the bowels of a stadium and you've got all these logistics and people and operations and facility staff and security and ushers and media and players and players and coaches get their locker room. But how about for the quick entry points where there are 2 bathrooms on each side of the main tunnel? One is more visible than the other. There's a female, there's a male, and then there's 2 others. Still haven't seen the 2 others. But if this is a quick access type thing, because we all have essential jobs, we can't really, spend it. We got to get in, get out. Do not be the person that uses that single one available stall for all of these people to take a seat, take your pants off, pull out a newspaper, whatever it may be. Do not get too comfortable. Don't be that one, okay, to do a number 2. Please, because if you are, you deserve to be shot off into the sun and never return. And let me tell you, Thursday, it got me. Friday, somebody got me again. Saturday, 3 days in a row. And I'm going to this thing because you know how much I drink, water and coffee and energy drinks and everything else. I'm wired. So I'm using this bathroom probably 6-7 times, like every hour, I'm running over there. And yeah, somebody decided to spend a little bit too much time in there 3 consecutive days. And I shamed the hell out of them every time they came out.
As you should. As you should. We have a single stall in our Learfield studios on the East Coast. And we have a firm rule. You do not use that bathroom for anything other than number 1. That is it. Number 2, you are shot into the sun. And by in the sun, we mean we banish you to the West Coast.
So somebody might ask, what is my alternative? Well, you go upstairs, you go in the stairs, you get in the elevator, whatever. You go to the concourse. Go find yourself a nice handicap stall if you need it, okay? Don't confine yourself to the phone booth, the one singular stall that is behind the court in the bowels of the stadium for you to, unveil your own bowels, all right? Come on. This is just, 101. 101 type stuff. And the amount of conversations I had with people as lines were forming behind me waiting to get into the bathroom. That was some of the more interesting and revealing conversations throughout the week. So,
All
yeah.
right.
Anyways, let's move on. 2 remaining unbeatens. Texas A&M 16-0. Florida State is 14-0. Texas A&M is just a little sneak peek at my Power 10. They're in my top 5 as they should be. The question is if they played enough, stingy competition but 16-0, 5-0 week, had a walk-off win over Rhode Island. I mean, if you're going to win your first 16 games, I mean, that's pretty dang impressive. And we had, a 5 a week ago, so 3 have fallen out.
Yep.
And then Florida State, I mean, considering, what they were last year in year 1 under Link Jarrett, for them to jump out to this kind of start, 14 wins, no losses. I mean, this is massive with a series. Who did we say FSU has? Notre Dame this weekend, right?
Notre Dame, who just got swept by Virginia Tech over the weekend, by the way.
And Virginia Tech, if my note serves me correct, first 3-0 start in the ACC ever.
Yeah, ever.
Pretty cool. So we'll get to some of the other outcomes, but size up Texas A&M. Who do they have in the midweek? And then Florida State, we know they've got Florida. My surefire lock is going to be that Florida State will lose to Florida tonight on Tuesday as we record.
I'd agree with that. And so Texas A&M actually has a very tough week this week. So they start with Sam Houston State in the midweek tonight. We know they are actually a dangerous team. I think Sam Houston State's like 11-4. They started the year by hosting Oklahoma State and taking 2 of 3 from the Cowboys. Big 12 series win. So Bearcats are no joke. And then Texas A&M has to go to Florida and play the Gators to open SEC play this week. That's the series of the weekend, in my opinion.
Ooh, yes, it is. I would agree.
Yeah. So that's your size up of Texas A&M. Is they're very stinking good. They lead the nation in ERA still. It's like 1.62, I think, is the ERA. It's nuts. No one can hit them, and they can hit the ball. I mean, Jace Lavalette, Braden Montgomery, just a stellar duo at the top of that offensive surging lineup. Their numbers are, outlandish. I love everything about this Aggies team. I've said it the last 3 weeks. They are the best team in the SEC, in my opinion, right now.
So after this weekend, and really it could be after tonight, we have no more undefeateds. The other main thing to point out, and maybe we should have led with this, is we do have a new number 1. It no longer is Wake Forest, who has stumbled, 6 spots to number 7 in the top 25 polls. That D1Baseball.com helps produce for the NCAA. It's kind of our most accepted metric and method. We'll give our Power 10, see how they compare. But Wake Forest falls to 7, and it's because Duke went to Durham. Biggest weekend series here in the 4th weekend of the young season. You could argue Texas Tech as well, which, good for the Longhorns and taking 2 out of 3 in Lubbock. But, when you have the nation's number 1 team who didn't lose this series at all last year, and they went to Durham to open up ACC play a year ago, and took 2 out of 3 from Duke. And now Duke comes, returns the favor, gets their first win over a number 1 since, I want to say I saw 1999. It was either 99 or 01 for the Blue Devils.
2009, first time they won a series
2009.
over a number 1 team.
That was it. Yeah. So
they beat North Carolina. Yeah.
And it's one of Duke's highest rankings now ever as they move up to number 6. So they are 1 spot ahead of Wake Forest in the top 25. And the Blue Devils did it, with a highly offensive game for both sides on Friday night. I mean, my goodness, you got Santucci against Hartle. You had all these major league scouts in attendance. Sometimes, in some cases, you had multiple scouts from the same team that were there at the boombox. And the boombox it was not the pitching showdown that you would have expected on Friday night. Now, the series steadied. Chase Burns really is the real winner from a Wake Forest standpoint. What he was able to do on Saturday night, I mean, onions. And then Duke comes back Sunday in spite of a leadoff triple that was lost in the twilight. Charlie Bielenson, straight dude, has got 7 saves to lead the country at this stage. Bielenson then walks a guy. He got runners at the corners and then 3 punchies. I mean, Bielenson was absolutely stoic, but Chase Burns was spectacular as well. But I couldn't get over the amount of runs on Friday night. I mean, Hartle and Santucci did not deliver what we would have thought we'd seen.
No, they didn't. And like you said, there were 3 very different games in that series. And I do want to say this. I wish this series could be played in mid-April or early May, because Wake Forest is so hurt right now, pitching-wise. I mean, Cole Rowland's still out. Joe Arriola's still out. Crawford Wade's still out. Chase Walters out. Merrick Houston got hurt in his first at-bat on Saturday, so they had to shift Seaver King to shortstop. and put somebody else in center field. So Wake was playing dinged up. Now, would that have made a difference? I don't know. We can't. Well, we're not able to tell. But it'll be interesting to see how that series is portrayed when the DSR, the first official DSR, comes out. I think after this weekend, and we'll see how much those losses actually affected Wake Forest because of how dinged up they are, especially pitching wise. But you mentioned it. Game 1, both starters don't get out of the 4th inning. Santucci went 2 2/3. Josh Hartle 3 2/3. And really, it was Bielenson. And don't forget about Owen Proksch, which I hope I'm saying his name right. Is it Proksch?
It's been said multiple ways. I've had a family member come up to the booth and drop me a note, Proksch, like
Proksch.
book. However,
Proksch.
It's printed otherwise
Proksch.
in other areas.
It's printed Proksch, yes. So Proksch. All right, Owen Proksch, I apologize. But he and Bielenson saved the day on Friday. 4 1/3 of 2-hit baseball. I mean, that was the decider right there. I know Duke hit 3 homers, but that was it. They needed somebody to come in and not allow a run, and that was it. Saturday, Chase Burns was insane. Career-high 14 punchies, 6 innings. The Deeks were up 6-1 after 3 innings. Jake Reinish, Austin Hawk each homered, so that was just Duke didn't have enough to beat Burns, and they threw enough good guys out of the pen that was it. Sunday, I want to talk about Sunday a lot because there was a great article on D1 where Aaron Fitt, who was at the ballpark for the entire series, emailed Chris Pollard after the game, and he basically said, we had the scout on Massey. We knew exactly how to beat him. And Massey only went 2 innings. And Pollard's like, yeah, we knew how to beat him. We knew exactly what we were doing. We basically, the long and short of the article is Massey's breaking ball, if it was coming out around the eyes, I think is what he said, they were swinging. And if it came out anywhere below that, they weren't. Because they noticed on the previous starts for Massey, anything coming out below the eye level was low, and guys were swinging and missing at balls in the dirt. So they had an auto take on if the ball was coming out, the breaking ball was coming out anywhere below the eyes. And it really helped them because there were 22 walks in that game.
Dude,
Duke walked 14 times in that game.
That strike zone was a travesty, I think is how Aaron Foote had put it. I mean, it became an show in Game 3, especially. You know, you had the borderline call that was called the ball on Seaver King, and that's when Proksch was on the mound before Bielenson came in to close the door. When Wake was able to threaten with the leadoff triple, and then the walk issued before Bielenson struck out the side and secured the series win for Duke. But Chris Pollard got ran. I mean, he came out and he got ran. He got tossed on Sunday, and then Proksch turns around and finishes the King at bat with a strikeout. So he overcomes the borderline call that TrackMan indicated on multiple occasions, according to following Fitz reporting throughout the weekend. Pitches that should have been a strike that were called a ball, and this was one of those instances. So Pollard gets ran, fires up his team. Proksch completes the strikeout. You talk about like the emotions, like we love the game so much, Kahn, and we hope people that are listening love it, and the emotions and making it fun, and being able to show some personality and be yourself and celebrate. And Chase Burns is one of the best. I mean, the videos that you see coming out of him celebrating off the mound with key strikeouts, and you gave his line, 14 Ks, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run in Saturday's lone win for Wake Forest. He was sensational, solidifying himself as like the number one dude among all pitchers, which we sensed coming in. But to see a guy like Proksch, finish that 8th inning, overcome that. Bielenson comes out. And I mean, you talk about a guy that shoves, man. Like Bielenson broke the program record for appearances last year for Duke. He came out of the bullpen 39 times. 39. I mean, the dude's got a rubber arm. I mean, he does. He's a Brown transfer, okay, who's here in what should be his final year. I mean, COVID has allowed this guy to just keep pitching and pitching and pitching. But so far this year, he's got 14 innings thrown. He's allowed 7 hits. He's collected 7 saves, 22 strikeouts in those 14 innings.
Yep. He's perfect.
And
he is perfect.
He is not allowed to run. Not allowed a single run. And those 22 strikeouts to 3 walks. Mm-hmm. I mean, better than a 7-to-1 ratio.
He's insane. And the thing I want to bring up about the Chris Pollard ejection from Sunday before Bielenson came in is that Proksch actually, on that borderline strike 3 call, if you watch the video, he says some words to the umpire and almost got run, but Pollard noticed right away, and you see
took attention away from Proksch.
He distracted the umpire because Proksch said something, and you could see the umpire was irritated at Brooks, and Pollard was like, no, ran out there, and I mean, he wanted to get run. He knew he had to, because he was like, I got to save my guy because he's about to burn an inside heater right by Seaver King and end the inning, and that's exactly what he did. And Brooks said afterwards, like, yeah, I was riled up. Thank God for Coach Pollard, because I was going to get myself ejected.
The coach taking one for the team, sacrificing himself, and injecting him in between his pitcher and the umpire to take all of the attention away, get ran himself, and ultimately it's the springboard to Brooks ending the inning and Bielenson coming out and closing the door. Yeah, that I'm with you on the weather, man, and the time. And not just, I say weather first. I know you brought up injuries and how, Wake is
tough.
Is significantly hindered, but think of the weather too. Like, I know it's in North Carolina. It's far better, this situation than other situations across the country. I get that, but it's super windy. It's ugly. The fan, from a Wake standpoint, even all the goodwill that they built in going to Omaha, like let's be real, it's still, the fans aren't coming out in droves at this time of the year yet. And they're not, it's basketball mode still at this point. If you could just let it simmer, let it bake, let it cook a little bit, and you have a series of this magnitude in the conference year. And, this is one of those things, starting ACC play a week earlier than some are. This is and I don't know how different it would be this weekend, with the ACC tournament, going, just thinking from a Wake perspective going on in Washington, D.C. But, now we're talking about the calendar and shifting the calendar. I mean, these games have to be played sometime. It's just, it's unfortunate that, and especially because these two played weekend one last year, was there no way to slide like the time of the year? Like I'd have to really do a case study of how these schedules mirror up year to year with these home and homes.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's really a hard question to ponder, because look, and especially because of the fact that next year the ACC gets more teams, right? The Big 12 gets more teams. The SEC gets more teams. So conference play is going to start earlier and earlier and earlier. When I was in West Virginia this past weekend, this is the earliest West Virginia has ever played a Big 12 series. Like, there's no option here. And you can look and go, okay, yes, you could have predicted that Wake Forest and Duke would be two good teams and this series would be good. But that's all hearsay until it actually happens. Now, the series delivered in weird ways, but you can also have gotten a dud of a series. And if you move that to May, when there's more, eyeballs on it, there's more television on it, there's more local media on it, there's more fan attention on it, and you get a dud, then you have the exact opposite side of the spectrum, right? So you have to play the series when they're played. I don't really know what the scheduling matrix looks like for, baseball conference schedules. It is weird to me that they played Duke and Wake Forest in opening weekend of ACC play 2 years in a row. But I think you have to look at it from both sides and just go, like, this series could have sucked. It didn't, which is great. But now that it didn't, hindsight's 2020, you go, okay, I wish you played this in May. I'm more like Wake was so hurt, they couldn't throw their best guys. I mean, Brooks and Bielenson threw twice, Friday and Sunday. Wake couldn't do that. They don't have enough guys.
Yeah. All right,
crazy.
Where do you want to pivot to here? So the new number one is Arkansas. Arkansas just continuing to do Arkansas things. 13-2, 4-0 week. They haven't lost since that extra inning game against Oklahoma State in Arlington. Remember, that was a weekend where they beat Oregon State, which, as I look into my Power 10, I've got Arkansas and Oregon State 1-2, which I believe I had them last week as well. I mean, that's another example of an early season matchup that I wish more people appreciated. Maybe they did, like I certainly did, but, it reminds me of, in college football, those non-con neutral site matchups that we get earlier in the year that hopefully we can get more of now with college football playoff expansion, where teams aren't as scared to schedule these sorts of things, whether it's, LSU and Florida State, or Texas and Michigan, or whatever it may be. We had that in the baseball equivalent. And while we have way too many tournaments, as we had Joe Healy to talk a little bit about a couple of weeks ago, it's hard to follow them all. If you can zero and drill down on a couple of these matchups, and one in particular, like we, in hindsight, or looking back retroactively, we really had a phenomenal gift in Arkansas and Oregon State, because Oregon State now has won 10 in a row. They haven't lost since losing I believe to the Razorbacks it was that weekend. So Oregon State 15-1 off a sweep of CSUN, right there, number 2 in the top 25 rankings. They're my second in my Power 10 in 3D, and Arkansas has the number 1 ERA in the country. I still have questions about them offensively, but it seems like some of their guys are number 3 ERA. It seems like some of their guys are, really starting to, tune it on and really grind out some good at-bats, and we saw that this past weekend in the sweep of McNeese.
Yeah, Arkansas is a really interesting case study to me because when you think about Arkansas teams of past, they've always had, solid pitching. I mean, you go back a couple years, Kevin Kopps won the Golden Spikes Award as a reliever. But I always think of Arkansas as this, powerhouse slugging group, right? Like that, when I think Arkansas, that's what I think of. And that's not this year's Arkansas team. They have the third best ERA in the nation at 2.79, but they don't hit a lot of homers. They've only hit 16. I think the leader this year is Georgia with 48 right now through the same amount of games that Arkansas has played. But their offense is still averaging 8 runs per game. And if they're going to pitch like the way they're pitching, led, of course, by, Hagen Smith, who's a dude and won that duel with Aiden May, who left due to an injury, but whatever. If they're still going to score 8 runs per game and pitch the way they're pitching, yeah, they're going to win. I mean, they could win every series. They're just that balanced. And I've seen a lot of stuff on Razorback Twitter with people saying like, oh, some of these guys aren't producing offensively, we're not. But I think it's because they're so used to Arkansas just hitting the crap out of the ball and homering and homering and homering. And this team is a different offensive team, at least right now, but it's working for them. So if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah, and one of those guys in particular is the Sac State transfer, the sophomore Aloy, who was a freshman All-American a year ago at Sac State. And then, Dave Van Horn goes and gets him out of the transfer portal. That kind of the negative impact to a guy who's really good at a small, low major school, but then, the SEC comes a calling and wants to put you in the lineup. And he's only one of 3. Look, he started 5 of 33 from the plate. Okay. So the transition was difficult at first. And that's where, a lot of this concern comes from, Hog fans, for example. However, he's one of just 3 guys who have played in every single game for Arkansas to this point. And this past week, he went 5 for 16 with 2 home runs, 10 RBIs in the midst of an 8 for 28 stretch just before that, after going 5 for 33. So, it's just they're coming along a little bit more slowly, some of the new pieces. But, Arkansas got back Peyton Stovall this weekend, too, as well.
Thank God.
And that's going to be, I think he's going to be a huge, elixir, to help really, transform what this offense can be. Not only offensively, defensively, but his veteran leadership and the culture of that squad, which, I don't think there was ever any questions of that. But having Stovall, back out there, being able to perform, for now, the number 1 team in the country now gets Peyton Stovall back. Like,
insane, yeah.
An embarrassment of riches.
He hit 385 in his first 3 games. Homer, 5 RBIs. Dude came out and raked. By the way, Wahiwa Aloy, the guy at Arkansas you're referring to, his younger brother is on BYU, Kuhio Aloy.
Oh.
And Kuhio Aloy hit a tank this weekend in West Virginia. I mean, it was an absolute bomb. The dude can rake.
Did he nuke it off the shopping center in left field? Is that like a plaza out there in left field?
He hit it to the street. He literally hit it to the street. Yeah, I think my call was that ball's on the street. Like he hit it to the street. He also could hit a golf ball over 400 yards, by the way. Kuhio.
His brother?
Yes,
at
Kuhio
BYU?
Aloy. Yes. I just wanted to bring that up. But take a look. You mentioned a lot of the offensive guys for Arkansas. Take a look at their pitchers, right? You got their starters. You got Brady Tigert, 3-0, 0.90 ERA, 28 strikeouts to 7 walks, batters hitting 169 against him. Okay. We've talked about Hagen Smith. He's insane. 2.12. He's 2-0, 17 innings, 40 Ks to 7 walks, batters hitting 107 against him. Colin Fisher, 1.59 ERA in 4 games. Batters are leaning 214 against him. You got those 3 guys that are your starters, along with Mason Molina, the Texas Tech transfer, who's got an ERA just over 3.5 and batters hitting 136. So there are 4 guys that are starters are just going off, right? Like they are balls to the wall, awesome. And then you take a look at their bullpen. Will McIntyre, Cody Frank, Gabe Gakel, I think is how you say his name. Gakel, I'm not sure. Those 2 have combined for 7 of the 9 saves for Arkansas, and they've all just come in and shoved. I mean, they have 3 stalwarts in the back of their bullpen. They have 4 bona fide starters. How do you beat this team?
Yeah.
Like, they're so good. They're so balanced.
Super impressive. And I love Kyle Fisher so much. We might see him Tuesday against Oral Roberts. How about a little sneak peek at the midweek lineup card? You got a team who made it to Omaha and Oral Roberts taking on Arkansas on Tuesday. A chance for the freshman Colin Fisher, the big tuna, as they call him.
That's his name? I love it.
Yeah. The big
tuna. Can we get the Panda Express and Chase Burns versus the big tuna in Omaha?
Ooh, that would be a treat. That's tantalizing.
Makes me lick. I mean, everyone makes you what?
Don't make your boy lick his lips, man. He's trying to pod right now. I don't want to make it's my half birthday. I'm in my half birthday suit. Or at least I will be. Arkansas.
Is that no pants or no shirt?
That would be no shirt.
Okay.
Well, no pants. I don't know. Use your imagination. I forget we're on video. I don't want people to call me out and tell me to be a liar. If you find this Varsity Channel on YouTube, good for you. Anyways, you want
to talk about some of the other pitching performances from the weekend? Because this was a weekend full of pitching, man. I mean, we talked about Burns, but Cags, Luke Holman,
let's
Devin
go off the board.
Let
me go Futrell. So what he did, all right, complete game. All right, 7 Ks, no walks, 5 hits. How about the rotation across the weekend? 22 innings, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, 29 strikeouts in a sweep of ISU. If you go back to the entire week, all 4 games, Commodore starters, 28 innings, 1 earned run across 28, 3 walks, and 38 strikeouts. 38 Ks to 3 walks. And then Devin Futrell bookends the entire week with a complete game. Incredible stuff from him.
Dude, amazing stuff from him. I think, has Vandy won 9 in a row now? I mean, I think that's the case. Yeah, they've won 9 in a row. They're 14-3.
Where you got them
9 straight.
Where you got them in your Power 10. I mean, we're talking about all these teams. We'll outline them before we pivot to the back end of the show with hat tips and dudes and SDAs and a lineup card. But where do you have them in your Power 10?
They are 10.
Okay, all right.
They are 10.
I got them at 7.
I had 2 teams drop out of my Power 10 and 2 teams join. Vandy's one of them. We'll touch on the other when we get to the Power 10. But Vandy is 10. They replaced. I'll spoil one of the teams that dropped out. They replaced TCU, who I took out.
Okay. Oh yeah, you drop a series to who? Kansas
at unranked Kansas. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to get. But yeah. Crazy note about that Futrell complete game shutty, by the way. It's the 12th of the Tim Corbin era. All but 2 pitchers on that list that have thrown a complete game shutty under Corbs were top 10 draft picks.
Wow.
10 of the 12.
Do we know? Do you have the 2 who?
Hunter Owen was not, and the other one, Zayabek, I think is his last name. I think it's Andrew Zayabek. I can't remember his name. I saw it. Hat tip to Andrew Allegretta, play-by-play voice, Vandy Baseball, for tweeting that out. You can find it on his Twitter at @Allegretta. But yeah, all but 2 of the pitchers were top 10 draft picks. You know, you got David Price, Leiter, Rocker on there, stuff like that. So cool note on that. Note on Luke Holman has been like the most quietest, best pitcher in the country because LSU still hasn't really played that many, worthy opponents. Texas like their best one, but look at what he did against Xavier over the weekend. 6 innings, no hits, 10 Ks. He still hasn't allowed a run this year. He's one of 4 qualified pitchers with a spotless ERA. 24 innings, 8 hits, 40 Ks, 4 walks on the year in 4 starts, and he's 4-0. I mean, LSU just said, move over Paul Skeens. Go be with the Pirates. Go to spring training. We'll bring over Luke Holman, and we'll be just fine.
God.
He's insane. And he no-hits Xavier through 6 innings, which, it's Xavier, I know, but...
Cags, can I give some Cags numbers?
I was trying to leave you with Cags. I know he's your boy.
God, I love that guy.
I mean, I know, but...
If people are unfamiliar, okay, the infatuation with Cags goes back well before last year, okay? People might think he burst onto the scene last year as a Golden Spikes Award candidate. leading the country in home runs, top two-way player talent with a blistering 97, 98 mile per hour fastball, whatever he's running it up to now. Just a huge, large mammoth of a beautiful man, okay? Super charming, all of that. Well, you know who was on the ground floor? This guy. And Kahn, too, he was there. He was present. But this guy at the SEC tournament, not this past year, the year before, the 2022 SEC tournament in Hoover. This was the season where Kaggs wasn't pitching because he had Tommy John surgery, and he was this highly touted pitcher that had come in who was also a pretty phenomenal first baseman and hitter, but he wasn't really going to hit at all at Florida. And they shut him down. He's recovering from Tommy John. He picked up a bat. Well, Sullivan knew what he was capable of, but once he saw and heard the crack of the bat and the way the ball just exploded off his bat in BP, it's like, okay, we got to get this guy into the lineup. He's got a DH for us. And sure enough, that's what happened. And he started DHing at the best time in the SEC tournament. He was raking, and we had an on-field, after conversation after one of the early games in the tournament, and it was your boy, Kyle Schassburger and Jack Caglione, just, staring deep into each other's eyes. He complimented my pit vipers, and, he was towering over me. He loved my mustache as well. I mean, he was, he was a total dude, a total bro, very respectful, very authentic. And this was before all the fame. Him and I had a moment. We shared a moment. And from that point on, he has been, my number one college baseball player crush. And I am not, afraid to admit that. He is phenomenal in every way. So
he's an all-time member of the All Shass squad.
Yes.
Every year he rolls over. He just rolls over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he shoved this weekend again, man. No hits, 6 innings, no hits, 9 Ks.
Longest outing.
Pitches.
Longest outing.
Yeah. Longest outing. Yeah. Have you seen the numbers for him this year through 15 games? They're stupid.
So
they're stupid.
429 batting average, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, 1.203 OPS, 11 walks, has struck out 5 times. People are just pitching around him. That's
as they should. Yeah.
On the hill, he's 1.8.
Yep.
OERA, 0.87 whip in 15 innings. He struck out 27 across those 15 innings. 8 walks, so still the number a little high. 104 batting average, opponents against him, and a 40.
It's better than it was last year with the walks. Yeah, that was the biggest problem for him. Is he needed to limit the walks, and I mean, a better than 3-to-1 ratio, strikeout to walk, you'll take that.
Yeah, 46.6% strikeout rate. I mean, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. So loved what I saw to Kaggs. Went his longest outing of the year. Florida only went 2-2 though. They fell back in my rankings.
They dropped in my Power 10. Yeah. I got him at number 9, just ahead of Clemson. So let's roll through that real quick, and then we can give our final thoughts before we bounce and start to wrap things up. So I've got, and we can empty the notebook because conference play is beginning in earnest this weekend. So I've got, here's my 10. Arkansas, number 1 for the first time since the end of the regular season rankings that came out on that Kevin Kopps team that you brought up earlier in 2021. They were 50-13 at the time. That's the last time that they were number 1. So Arkansas is my number 1 team in the Power 10 and 3D. Oregon State at 15-1. Duke 13-2, 3-1. I mean, going to Wake Forest, taking 2 out of 3. That's good for the jump into the number 3 spot. Texas A&M 16-0, 5-0 week. At number 4, big week for them. Who do they open with in the SEC? A&M, Florida.
Florida. Yeah, that's right. I knew we had briefly talked about it. We'll touch on that one more time before we get out the door. LSU is at 5. Again, Luke Holman, you talked about how he continues to dazzle. Still no runs allowed. It's a scary team. They're the defending champs. I mean, they're going to be scary, but it seems like, the rich get richer in the form of the Tigers and getting Luke Holman from Alabama in the offseason. Wake Forest 12-3, 2-2. We talked about Burns, salvaging at least one game of what he was able to provide, but they fell. They tumbled. Vanderbilt at 7. Tennessee at 8. Florida at 9. Clemson at 10. Tigers are 13-1, 4-0 week. Florida 10-5. Let me give you a thought on Tennessee real quick. Did you see Blake Burke get ejected?
Yes. For another, holding the bat too long, it seemed like.
Yeah. It's
what are we doing?
I mean, he had absolute nuke over the right center field wall, and I think he just carried the bat a little too far down the first baseline. But the reason was both catchers were warned earlier in the game over shit
Fine.
talking.
Okay.
So, once Burke did that, and I think he crossed home and said a little something else, Vitello gave a little bit of insight into this in post game. I was reading some of his comments, and he seemed to, say as much that, yeah, it was probably something that Burke said as he crossed home plate. And then Vitello, kind of not tongue in cheek, but, revealing or at least understanding Tennessee's place in college baseball at this time, saying, yeah, we'll probably be the bad guys because of this. And people will say, we don't play the game the right way. But, so, I mean, he at least acknowledges that and whatever.
Yeah, fine. Whatever. I don't know what he said. If it was bad and he deserved to be ejected, okay. But we can't see anything on the video. We can't read his lips. So I don't know, man.
Dean
Curley.
Dean Curley, freshman for the Vols, 3 home runs on the weekend.
Oh,
so big bat, big young bat, bopping bat for the Big Orange. For the Big Orange.
Is he gonna compete with the real DBU, Drew Burress, for home runs?
Yeah, I'm gonna look up Curly's bio. Let me learn a little bit more about him. You give me your Power 10.
So my Power 10 a little bit different than yours, not too much, but a little bit different. Texas A&M is my number 1 team in the Power 10. Boosted them up, 16-0.
Number 1, they haven't played anybody.
They went to
Texas
Austin
in the midweek.
They went to Austin and beat Texas, man. They got the wins. You still got to win the games.
All right.
And their pitching's insane. 1.62. You can't hit them.
Okay.
They had 2 shutouts this weekend. I know it was against Rhode Island, but they had 2 shutouts. A&M's number 1. Arkansas stays at 2. 4-0 week. They didn't play anyone. They played McNeese. Like, you want to get on me for A&M playing Rhode Island? Arkansas played McNeese. So, like, whatever.
Yeah, but they got to win over Oregon State. Come on.
Okay, great. A&M's got to win over Texas. Like, la-di-da. Who came back and won 2 of 3 at Texas Tech. Arkansas opens against Missouri this weekend. So, they need to win that series. So we'll see how they do there. Duke, number 3, move them up 5 spots. The series went over Wake Forest. This is insane. Duke is now top 15 in average, 3rd in the nation in homers, and 10th in the nation in ERA. Their entire lineup, except for Alex Stone, is hitting above 295. So they're complete team, in my opinion. Oregon State, I only dropped them down 1 spot because I had to move Duke and A&M up. So they're number 4. Checking on our boy Travis Bazzana, hitting 450, but Michael McDowell actually leads that team at 474. Wake Forest drops to 5 for me as well. I think that's where you had them as well. So I put them at 5. Nick Kurtz is really struggling right now. He's hitting 220. So we need to possibly sound the alarms a little bit on Nicky Nukes, because we know how, the offense is kind of dialed down a little bit for the Deeks. Kurtz needs to hit. You got Tellier, Jack Winney, Seaver King all hitting for Wake Forest, but Nick Kurtz needs to also produce, because Seaver King was in the lineup to protect Nick Kurtz, and if Nick Kurtz ain't hitting, then you got to flip them in the lineup or do something else, because Kurtz is not delivering at the moment. And then the question marks are, have teams figured out Massey after what Chris Pollard literally blasted to the nation on Sunday about how to read his breaking ball? So we got to worry about that. Alabama, number 6 for me. Good midweek win over Troy. They scored 10 runs in all 3 games against Lipscomb. That offense just continues to blast. They're hitting 345 as a team. Their starters are also really good. You got Greg Ferrone, Zane Adams, and Ben Hess, all with ERAs under 2.7. They're also top 15 in the nation in homers and ERA. So they're another really balanced group. Florida down to 7 because they lost at home to UCF and barely won the series against St. Mary's. They had to win 12-11 on Friday to even win that series. Tennessee hops into the 8th spot. They're one of 2 teams in my new Power 10. LSU down to 9, only because I had to move some new teams in and up and around. They won their series for Xavier, but nothing to write home about for that. And then Vanderbilt, after winning 9 in a row, now at 14-3, hops into my number 10 spot. Virginia's out because they dropped their series to Miami. Did you see they gave up a 9-run deficit to Miami to lose that series?
Yeah, man. JD Artigas is getting my hat tip because of that.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
Miami
there
was
you
able
go.
to do in overcoming a deficit that was their largest since 1992.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
incredible. Down 12-3 against Virginia, and they take 2 out of 3 against the Cavaliers. And now they're going to have North Carolina, Miami this weekend in Coral Gables.
Yep, and TCU also dropped out of my Power 10 because they went to Kansas. First true road game, by the way, for TCU all year. They'd played neutral games. First true road game, really hard to win on the road. They lose 2 of 3 at Kansas. They drop out of the Power 10. Honorable mention we gave to Texas this week because they took 2 of 3 at Texas Tech to open Big 12 play.
All right, so Dean Curley, the freshman for Tennessee, hit 3 home runs in one game last week. It was against K-State in the midweek in the 15-5. That's never been done by a freshman at Tennessee. Just a few times, tied a single game record for most home runs in a single game. So Curley, my goodness, 3 home runs, SEC freshman of the week, 6'3", 212 out of Northview High School, Laverne, California. He looks like a bellboy. Like he'd be a bellboy in the future.
Can you imagine him with like the crossed over button-up jacket and the nice little proper rounded hat?
He's got a nice little boyish smile to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to ask you for a tip.
Yeah, and he'd collect some good tips, you know.
Okay.
I feel like he'd collect some good. He'd do a good job, you know. He would do a good job. So that's Dean Curley. As you were running through some of the, let's see, you brought up the Virginia. So that's your Power 10. One was A&M. Alabama, who you brought up, I wanted to touch on. So that was a big midweek game over Troy, because then Troy went to Indiana and took 2 out of 3.
Troy's good.
Troy is good. Troy was in a regional tonight too, right?
Troy was in a regional. Let's see. Do I have them on the midweek ledger? I don't have them on my midweek ledger, but I don't know who they have. So why don't you tell me as I go into my dude and my hat tip?
Okay, well, I got it right here. They got Auburn. They got Auburn.
Oh, okay. That is a big game. That should be on the midweek ledger.
12th ranked Auburn, Toyota Field in Madison, Alabama.
Yeah. Give it to me. Okay. Bam. There we go.
All right. Troy and Auburn. All right. What do you got? I gave you my hat tip. So my hat tip is JT Artiga. So roll through all your stuff.
Yes. So my hat tip is Tim Corbin, because last week he became another coach to join the 1,000 career win mark as a head coach. In the history of SEC baseball, by the way, there are only 2 head coaches with 1,000 career wins as a head coach and 2 national championships. Tim Corbin is one. The other is Ray Tanner, who is now the AD at South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So exclusive club there. But hat tip to Timmy Corbin, 1,000 career victories. We've talked to him numerous times in Hoover. Love speaking with Corbs. I mean, the guy is a treasure trove of information, always super nice, super open. He's been on our podcast before, so love having Corbs on. And congratulations to him. So a hat tip to Corbs. My dude of the week, though, is going to Blake Barthel for Coastal Carolina. You should look this guy up, because over the weekend alone.
Oh, I've already looked him up, because I actually thought about reaching out to get him on the podcast as a guest.
Oh, okay. So you saw what he did then. He went 7 for 12 over the weekend, 5 homers, 11 RBIs, and he hit for the home run cycle.
Yeah.
In 2 games. It only took him 2 games to do it. On the week, he actually homered on Tuesday as well, so we got 6 homers for the week. But Blake Barthel of Coastal Carolina, where Wake Forest is at tonight, another big midweek game, Springs-Brooks Field in Conway, South Carolina. Blake Barthel is my dude of the week. And I do need to give a slight mention to the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks, who as a team hit for the home run cycle in 5 innings on Saturday. So,
dude, you're just all in my notes, man. That's how I was going to segue out of the Barthel.
Oh,
yeah. Well, ULM did it in 5 innings. They didn't need any more games. How about Georgia? Who are they opening up with in SEC play? Because they're 16-1, and they hit 6 grand slams across 6 days this past week.
God
Charlie
bless
Condon. Charlie Condon is leading the country in average in home runs. He's hitting like 567. He's got 12 bombs.
They open with Kentucky in Lexington this weekend.
Kentucky dropped a series this past weekend.
They also host Iowa tonight.
Okay.
Who, the Brody Brecht of it all was kind of the big story for them, and they've but yeah, Georgia hosts Kentucky this weekend.
Condon's got 25 RBIs, which looks like it's top 15 or so. Leader is Troy's Will Butcher, who's got 33 RBIs, just butchering the baseball.
Yes,
Man.
all name team, Troy Butcher.
Let's call him the meat slicer.
Oh,
Will the Thrill, the meat slicer out of Troy.
Yeah.
6 homers, 33 ribbies, hitting 387. Man, that's some good stuff.
Dude, that's great stuff. Good for him.
There's another name I'm seeing that I do want to give some love to, and he's gonna be my dude. Okay. I've got 2 dudes. I've got co-dude honors. First, I'm gonna give you Mississippi State's Dakota Jordan, SEC co-player of the week for what he was able to accomplish. How about this Mississippi State team? There's some good vibes for this Bulldogs team.
Finally.
He hit 692 for the week, 13 ribbies. He had 4 home runs, was on base with a 778 percentage, went 9 for 13, again with that 692 average, drove in 13, and helped Mississippi State to a 4-0 record for the week. This is a big dude. All right, outfielder for the Bulldogs, a menacing fucking frame. I mean, he's only 6 feet, but he's 220. He's built like a fire hydrant. Okay, he is stocky. He's got a wide head too, like a wide frame. Like he's just, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to come across this guy in an alley, and there's very few guys I could say that about. But
a lot of people wouldn't want to come across you in an alley.
Yeah, I really like him. So good on Dakota Jordan. Mississippi State has LSU, if I recall correctly, off the top of the dome piece. You're in the SEC this weekend.
Who's your other dude? Yeah.
It is LSU. Joe Oyama out of UCI.
Yeah.
Yeah. UC Irvine, dude, the Anteaters. Wow. So this guy is, I got to pull up, I had his player page here. I'm going to pop this tab. He's 5'6". Okay.
He's 5'6".
Little man is 5'6", out of from Japan. Okay. And what I love most about this guy is some of his interests, because I feel like him and I are brothers from another mother, even though he's 5'6" and from Japan. Okay. But let me tell you what he did, what this 5'6" little dude did for the Irvine team that's only lost once, just suffered their first loss this past weekend against Rocco Pepe and Fresno State. Pepe homered in a game that they lost this weekend, I believe, against UC Irvine. But here's what I got for Oyama. So on Friday, Irvine played, or it would have been Saturday, 2 games. It's the win against Columbia. He went 5 for 7, scored 4 times, hit a home run, had 2 doubles, also had a triple. So just narrowly missed out on the cycle. But he had 9 RBIs.
Jeez.
My dude had 9 RBIs at 5'6".
Oh my gosh.
He nearly hit his weight in RBIs. I mean, my goodness. So yeah, I wanted to give that man some love, because UC Irvine is doing some spectacular things, losing their first game. I mean, the school's out west in the Big West, right? I got that right. I'm not messing that up.
No, you're right.
And
they outscored their opponents 71-26 this weekend.
Yeah, it was impressive. And then let me go to the other UC that gets a lot of love and is also nationally ranked, UC Santa Barbara. So they had tough sledding a couple weeks ago. They put the train back on the tracks, if you will. Had a 4-game sweep, or 4-0 this past week. But Dave, this is my social display of affection.
Okay.
They're displaying, and it's one of 2. They're displaying these new midweek uniforms that I will retweet out, that are called the SB Connect uniforms. So Santa Barbara Connect. And according to their social account, they're vibrant, okay? And they reflect the close-knit community that's embedded on the waterfront, Isla Vista. So there's a big old palm tree on the very front of these things, wrapped across, the top of the script. Really, it replaces the I of Isla Vista. And it's right there. It's beautiful. So they're going to wear these during the midweek. And then Penn, I don't know if you saw what Penn does when they get a win, Penn baseball.
Yes.
but they do what's called the Quake Show. Hashtag Quake Show. You got quaked, and it's a very it's an incredibly hyped video that will get you fist pumping through the roof. And I really appreciate their creativity. So I'm going to retweet both of those. You can follow me at Kyle Schass. Pretty cool social
Those
displays
jerseys are
of
clean.
affection. Yes, they are.
Oh
yes.
my goodness. I didn't see those. Those are nice. I love the curled font with the edge, the gold edging. Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well done, UCSB. Well done. That's awesome.
All right. What you got?
No, no social displays of affection for me this week, honestly.
Okay.
Those two are phenomenal. We have some fantastic games coming up in the midweek tonight. We already mentioned Auburn and Troy, Wake and Coastal, Florida and Florida State. The other ones I want to bring up, Texas A&M and Sam Houston State. I think we touched on that momentarily. Alabama at Southern Miss. Another big midweek game for Alabama after they beat Troy last week. Southern Miss, your surefire lock of the week. You were right. You nailed it. They went to Ruston, took 2 of 3 from Louisiana Tech. And then TCU at Dallas Baptist. Can the Horned Frogs recover against a good DBU team? So that's midweek. On the weekend, conference play we mentioned starting in earnest. Wake has to go to Virginia. We'll see how either of those two teams recover. Duke hosts Clemson. Vandy hosts Auburn. Tennessee travels to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Florida and Texas A&M, we mentioned that. TCU hosts Oklahoma. And then Oregon State goes to Utah. Watch out. That could be an interesting series. Utah could win that series against Oregon State.
I'm on board with everything you said, man. I got nothing else to add. I think we got in the Auburn-Troy game as part of the midweek. That was important to note. And this is weekend number 5. Conference play happening all around us. Conference tournaments in basketball paves the way to conference play starting on the diamond. So certainly excited for that. Anything else you want to add, Matt, before we say goodbye? And we'll be back on Tuesday.
We'll be back on Tuesday. We will have a NCAA tournament field to talk about on Tuesday. We can build our brackets as we do the show.
Yes, it's a
so
tradition unlike any other.
Yes. So, basketball continues to consume our lives. I've got to go host a game in an hour and 45 minutes, so I'll be in the studio shortly. I know, Duke has a couple of days off because they got, like a triple bye in the ACC or something?
It's a double bye, man. Come on.
Day 1 is today, okay? I don't know when you guys play. Thursday, Friday? I don't even know.
Thursday.
Okay, so you got a double bye. But West Virginia is the bottom seed in the tourney, so I got to go host that game here in a minute. But we're excited for basketball, excited for SEC play to start up in full. More ACC action, Pac-12 action, Big Ten action. Let's go. I'm here for it. Great weekend ahead. And as always, enjoy it with you, my friend.
Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. He's David Kahn at SportsCon4. I'm at Kyle Schass. Follow us there. Until then, we'll talk on Tuesday. Bye.